So, first one was a question that came in about the pound. The question was just to share my opinion over the next few days. Um, if you read my writings, I think you'll get a bit of an idea of what I think of this. I would rather stay out over the next few days with the Scottish vote coming on. Um, issue being is this sell-off here was the initial sell-off at $1.72 was the US greenback and a bit of weakness in the economic data that accelerated towards 2 weeks ago as the Scottish independence vote gained momentum, and we can see that huge influence that has had. The issue being is obviously if the Scots do become independent, then what the effect on the UK economy will have, and also a slight effect on the euro, but not much at all. It'll be more of a negative effect on the euro if they do become independent. If they don't, well then this sell-off was unwarranted, and you might see a bit of a bounce. The From everything I read, it's still too hard to call. Most people are thinking that it won't happen, but there's a lot of swinging voters there that gives that uncertainty. And that's what we're seeing in a bit of price action. Once we do know what the vote is, I dare say there won't be the uncertainty in price action. If we, as I said, if they don't go ahead with the independence, then you'd expect a bit of a bounce. Although 163 is quite a key level, so I suspect that that'll probably hold for the rest of this week, unless something stupid happens at the FOMC. We can see how often the market has held on 163. But if it doesn't, then once the vote's known next week and it comes out that they're not, or they're going to stay in part of the UK, then I'd expect a sort of a bit of a bounce, and I'd be looking for breaking through 63, a retest to take this higher, because I think the UK is still looking to quite strong and outperforming most of its peers. So that's my take on the pound. Right. All these other emails which I haven't set up yet. Aussie yen. Why are you taking so long? Sorry guys, it's taking forever to open these files now. Okay, so whilst we're waiting for those to open, question online just now. China, some big moves there. Central bank intervention. They're talking about more stimulus in China. Was the headlines a couple of days ago, and that was why we had this massive move. And there was a bit of a pullback from that. If you're were trading this against the trend, trading the phase two, then you should well be out of the trade. If you're not, well, if you were originally short, you should also be out of the trade. If you're long, then you should have hit your target. If you're still long, then there is a bit of a level here which you would have your stop underneath. We can see how it's around 615, which we know as an old historical level that I've been talking about for some time. We can see it across here as well. So I'd have it underneath that, and you'd be getting away with some profit. But if you were trading the phase two, you should have been out when at your target, well and truly. Okay, so we've got all these open now. Some phase ones. CAD Swiss support line has come back, held onto that, and we're taking this longer now. That's all good. Fibonacci is fabulous. It's come back and held onto the 50. RSI convergence. There is convergence there. I'm not sure why you mean what's this don't trade, but I'm liking the CAD. I've liked the CAD for almost a year now. I still like the CAD. And as I wrote this morning, that finally the central bank over there seems to agree with me. And he's also some other wonderful comments to say. The 50 crossing and 200 is something a lot of people watch. We're getting that crossing on a lot of pairs. And it's the 50 just crossed the 200 on this pair. So I think that's all good. Risk reward of 1 to 1.1. I don't know why you would do that. You take profit as at 86.4 on that, just on that. Everything else I like on your setup, and it's all good. And you'd be placing the order for today. I would be targeting something more akin to the 1.618, which is 87. And if your entry's at 85, your stop's at 80, basically 83, and 120 pips, 130 pips, and you're targeting 200, being 87, you get a better risk reward. Okay. Your next one was the pound CAD. Yeah, there's been a cycle underneath that. The reason why I wouldn't personally trade this is I'd stay away from the pound from because of that vote. Um, there was a zone here of that range, and it's broken out of that. Retested it. If you're not worried about the news announcement, then certainly this is looking good for a trade. Come back to test that zone. Tested the 50 fib, and you have everything there for a trade. Lower highs, low lows, yeah. Below the moving averages, you got a moving average resistance, horizontal, everything's there. Again, 1.7 is okay, but I would be looking at the 1.618 as a potential target on this reversal here. So where's the pound CAD? So again, this is you'd be looking at it like that, and targeting sort of 72.20 area. But this is the zone that you're looking at. All these lows across here has come back and tested those, which is good. Yeah, so I would target 72.20 as a. There seems to be a low over here around that price as well. That'd be a good sort of 72 would be a reasonable thing to target. I would expect, which would increase your risk reward. Obviously, you may not get that if you're trailing your stops and trying to milk it as much as you can. Aussie yen. I like that it came back to this support line and tested it. I actually traded this overnight with the bullish Aussie price action. And yes, I have to agree with this. 1.3 again. I don't know. I went to the about that. You'll see my potential target in here. There's the entry. There's the target. 98, It's only the 1.272 that I was targeting, but that still gave me a decent risk reward ratio. Yep. But it's all these levels here that it came back to test, or you could say these two highs here, which goes back further, where you can see, across here. I think it's a pretty good entry, with the Bank of Japan effectively in the market weakening the yen. Even though the Aussie is getting weaker as well, I think it will get weaker. The yen will get weaker faster. So that's a good one. Again, just your risk reward, I'd adjust things to fit that. Euro Aussie risk reward 1 to 2.96. That's good. That's the sort of stuff you'd like to see. Targeting the 1.272. I too have placed this one as it came back and tested these levels. I think that there's a lot more to come on the downside on this. If you remember this head and shoulder pattern across here that it's broken, retested, that puts us at a target of 34. Yeah, because it's 2 times this. So if this is 800 pips, which it was, then 1600 brings us down to here. So I'm looking at risking 200 pips for 800 pip target, and that, funnily enough, is roughly the 1.618. Yep. So that's looking all right. Again, if the Aussie dollar continues to weaken, which it possibly could, then it's a matter of how fast the euro will weaken. And I think the euro's dead in the water. Everything's bounced overnight quite strongly, and it's just gone nowhere. It's really struggling to find any buying interest, and I'd be looking for it to potentially shit itself again. $1.30 can't even manage to get tag $1.30, which is, come on, $1.30 is in there. I didn't get it. The high was 96 overnight. I think it was 94. Euro Aussie risky with the Scottish news? No, I don't think so. Scotland would apply to, if they do become independent, they would apply to become a part of the euro as a single entity. London, England itself. I've got to get away from the UK because it may not be that anymore. England itself is not a full member of the EU. Whereas you'd expect the Scottish will probably would become that to get all the benefits that everybody else does. So I would say to be, it's not not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. I think it wouldn't have all that much of an effect on the euro. If the Scots don't become independent, I don't see it as a major issue for the European Union either. It's like, well, what has changed? Nothing. So that's the Euro Aussie. Euro CAD, again you're targeting 1.272. It's okay. It's 1 to 4. Again, there's this zone of resistance. Where's mine? I've got this zone of resistance in here. Effectively, it's these highs across here, and then there's a little. You got that high there. Well, actually, no, it wasn't. The zone of resistance I had with this high here, and then these lows here, which if we put on, we can see when we come to the daily. It's these lows. This is the area where there's a zone of resistance, and the market certainly reacted to that. It's pulled back to the 50 EMA. The 50 fib nicely. The 50's under the 200. That's all good. And again, I've gone for the 1.618, which gives me a 1 to 2 risk reward ratio instead of 1 to 4. Oh, sorry, instead of 1 to 1.4, which is what you've got. Yep. Okay, so that's those two emails. Got a few more emails to come through, and I'm sorry I didn't sort of load them up beforehand. I was running a little late this morning, but they're similar currency pairs, as you can imagine. I should load them up before because it takes forever whilst we've got this go-to QnA running. So again, it's the Euro Aussie and Euro CAD on this next email as well. Aussie Yen, Aussie Swiss. Okay, let's just look at this CAD one whilst the other ones line up. Looking at the 4 hour, just on that, I don't recommend, and I'm pretty sure I've said it in the classroom and a few times. I don't recommend trading against the trend in the shorter time frames. It is tricky enough doing it on the day, on the end of day, and it's on the end of day time frame. It's tricky enough to do it then. Doing it on a sort of shorter time frame, going down time frames increases the risk anyway, because it's a higher volatility. It's okay to be in for a shorter period of time, but I think it's just it's a higher risk, and that's not what prop trading is about. It's props about trying to reduce your risk, not increase it. Okay, it's tagged this upper line here, trend line, in $1.11. And had you traded it, you obviously would have made money because of the news announcement, but you wouldn't have known that at the time. And I think that is a pretty fortunate trade, because the daily was certainly looking at that time was looking more bullish than anything else. And it was only the news announcement that's brought it into your favour. Uh, yeah, I don't advocate trading in the shorter time frames against the trend. You can do it on your own account by all means, but it's not something that I would want to see on the 4 hour. On the prop account. But just in terms of your analysis, yeah, look, you're doing all the right thing. It's exactly what we try and do for trading. Certainly would have hit your target. Sort of trading phase 2 in the longer time frame. It's the same sort of concept and setup, and you've got it all right by the look of it. So, Euro Aussie, this setup, yeah, I don't know about the trend line. Have you put it in there? Was there a trend line, or are they even looking for a trend line? Well, there you go, you got a trend line as well. Yeah. I think it's a little different to yours. Hidden divergence. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Hidden divergence. Yeah, just a sec. Target 3803, risk reward of 2.16, that's good. 3803 being the previous low. Yeah. Fair enough. As long as your risk reward is okay, I'm not a problem with it. Question is that there was something you wrote in the email. Concerned about being short the euro twice, being euro Aussie and euro CAD, and I have reduced the risk to 0.13 for both trades. That's fine. I'm totally okay with that. In my previous email, I'm also looking at Aussie Switch, which means I have also been buying the Aussie twice. Well, the Aussie Swiss and the Euro Aussie are very similar trades. It's about 98% correlation, i.e. that if one goes in the direction, the other one 98% of the time will go go with it. It's a mirror. Aussie Swiss Euro Aussie is a mirror of each other, in that as the Aussie, it's this one falls, the Euro Aussie falls, the Aussie Swiss rallies. Yeah. If you have a look at them, they're very similar in price action, just upside down. Yeah. So here we've got that one, and then your Euro Aussie, it's just an upside down mirror of each one because it is 98% correlated. So if you're trading one, you're pretty much trading the other. So be aware of that with your capital allocation. So that's good, and I don't think it's too risky. You've only got 0.13 on all three trades, so that's, as you've noticed, it's only 3.9% of your capital, which is fine. Only less than 0.5% of your capital at risk. I think that's okay. And as I've mentioned, I don't think the Aussie, the Scottish vote is going to have too much of a problem. Aussie yen, yeah, that is looking okay. Waiting for another buyer bar. Now that you're waiting for that buyer bar, and you've got this, it may look a little more difficult on your risk reward ratio. So if you're going to be having a look at this trade now after we get that bar, you're looking at 120 pips risk. Yeah. So therefore, whilst I'm targeting the 1.272 or not even that, I'm certainly, I've got 70 pips for 3 to 1. I'm still risking 1 to get 3. If you're risking 120 pips, you're looking around here. It's your 1.618 as a potential target to get at least a decent risk reward ratio. Yep. Okay, it's all good. Waiting on price action. I had a look at that one. Your Euro CAD, what's happening to that? Aussie Swiss. Still loading. Come on. Sorry guys, it's just taking forever. Okay, Aussie Swiss. Yeah, as I said, it is the previous, similar to the previous Euro Aussie. Waiting on price action, you should have that now, and then it's a matter of getting a decent risk reward. But it's come back, like the Euro Aussie, come back to test the support. and we should be looking at this trend line continuing, so that's good. A lot of what we've been waiting for, all these phase twos, have come back. Aussie Kiwi, yeah, I haven't had a look at this one yet, so that's a good one to bring to my attention. Thank you. Aussie Kiwi, how's it fared? A lot of Aussie going on. It's come back to find that support. Yep, it's come back in 61. Even if we come down here, whoop, yeah, down to this here, we've found the 50. As it's come back to the 50 EMA, the 50 EMA has crossed over. I see little resistance at $1.12, but the bigger one, $1.12 being here. But wherever I think this is going is all the way up here. So this looks like a potential opportunity. And again, as we've mentioned, you've got to be careful with how much capital you allocate, because if it doesn't work, if the market moves against you, then it's going to go against all of. If you're trading a lot of Aussie, you've got a lot of Aussie open, you've got to be careful of that. Yeah. Just be aware how much capital you're allocating, even though you've got several different trades on. If the Aussie doesn't fare so well, then it doesn't look so good. So yeah, you're looking around 100 pip risk. No real trend line. Momentum is certainly overdone and looking to head back higher. Coming back to yours, fibs there, horizontals there, RBA minutes, current account, the Kiwi election this weekend. Above finding support, yep, horizontal. Bullish price action confirmed tomorrow. Well, you've got that now. Fib support, yes. Trend line, no. Yeah, so we have that. You have that. It's not the ring low, but we certainly have a bullish buyer bar where we expect to see the market to be bouncing. So I think that's an ideal sort of looking setup. What's this one? Euro CAD. Okay, what do you got? The green is the 50, 220. Yeah, it's coming off that. You got the 50 fib. Lower highs. That's all good, isn't this, Nick? Lower lows over since March, price action, horizontal resistance. I'm not sure about the fib resistance. Yep. No, that's good. That's where I put mine, as you may have noticed. Not sure what this is. Unless you're looking at it. No, that's. Don't know why that would be there. So you could take retracement resistance because you've got the 50 acting as resistance there. And take that arrow off because that doesn't tell you anything. Okay. Two more we've got to look at. See how quickly they open. Kiwi yen. Kiwi yen or NOK yen? So it's Kiwi yen. And someone wants to look at this thing. Alright, so Euro Aussie short. can't see zero, and you but you've got this in the right direction. I can't see 1 and 0. Your horizontal resistance there below the moving averages, EMA resistance. Well, potentially say yes to that. Horizontal resistance the most important. The bearish price action certainly. Fib, yes. Trendline resistance, well, there was. If you have a look, I didn't really look at it either, but there was. We've got these two touches, and certainly there's that resistance there. Even if you went sort of off these ones here, you've got it. But yeah, there's certainly trendline resistance there. Yeah, total 6 out of 9. That's all good. And then your Kiwi yen. Above the moving horizontal. No resistance. I can't see your fib. 9 out of 9. Well, I can't see your Fibonacci in there, so let's have a look at it. Really? It's, I can see the channel that you're looking at, but quite literally it's, I'm not seeing much in that. There's I mean, looking at that, you'd almost say a range. And I'd say it's a 786 retracement of this. Well, this 786 is now support. Look, if you want to take this trade, by all means, but it's not one of these. It doesn't fit any of that. I don't see the cyclicity of higher highs and higher lows. This, I don't see a cycle above the moving average yet. This is just all a bit of a mess. So, what to me around here, you would have been potentially looking at a range trade, or at least a phase 2. But here, it's not a trend continuation. I don't see a trend for it to be continuing. I just okay, what you're suggesting in terms of this little channel here, yeah, I can kind of see that, but that's not what it's not a trade that I would have a set of rules around. And so if you've got your own set of rules around a kind of trade like that, and you want to take it, then by all means, but just record what you're doing, and what you've recorded here doesn't fit what you're doing, because there's no higher highs and higher lows. Yes, you're above those. Yeah, you got EMA support, horizontal support. Yes, RSI convergence, probably not something you need in this kind of trade. Bullish price action, yeah. Trendline support, yeah. So you need to create your own strategy around that kind of entry. I don't mind you doing it if it makes you money, but I need you to record it, and what you've done is not really something that I'd be say agrees with your rules. Right. Euro Swiss. It does look like a short setup, and good luck to you if you want to trade it. No. I would not be advocating that trade whatsoever if you're looking to go short. And just type Swiss National Bank SNB into Google, and Euro Swiss EURCHF SNB, and see what you come up with, because they've got a floor on it. Okay. And last question. Dollar Sing on the 4 hour. First we need to establish that we're in an uptrend. Yep, Market's pulled back a little bit. How much further has this got to go? Shit, where would you do that one? It looks like it's trying to do a phase two. You've got FOMC out early tomorrow morning, so you may not want to be in it even on the 4 hour time frame. FOMC is the largest news announcement. However, we are in a trend. Need to see is there daily support yet, and that looks pretty good. If we now start to look at the 4 hour, yeah, you could potentially say yes, this is an opportunity on the 4 hour. But as I said, I don't know if I'd be in it for even on the 4 hour time frame because of the FOMC. But if you're willing to run that risk, then it certainly looks pretty good in terms of coming off support off the EMA, off the 50 fib. Everything suits it. Yeah. Okay. Just to hang on a second. Okay. Yeah. So that's where we're at, guys. Sorry for the interruptions and the delay in loading those things. Be careful with FOMC tonight. The market has expected that they're going to raise rates, and the US dollar has run pretty strongly because of that. What Auntie Yellen says or does could change it or continue it. Who knows? So just be careful with that. Other than that, there's some good phase one looking trades setting up, and you guys be good and stay safe. And I'll talk to you on Friday if you need me. We'll chat then, or shoot me an email. Cool. Thanks, guys.